Frankie V here today with Same Day Restoration. Today we have Erik from Pacific Premier Insurance in the house, so he's going to tell us all about his company. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Today we have Erik with us from Pacific Premier Insurance. So Erik, say hi to our viewers.
Hey, how's it going?
So welcome and thanks for joining us today. I know you have many things to do and I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So tell our viewers a little bit about your company and how you guys are doing.
Yeah, so the name of the agency is Pacific Premier Insurance Associates. I've been in the business for about 12 years. Got started with a big box insurance company and eventually decided to branch out onto our own. Founded Pacific Premier 5 years ago. We're an independent agency, full service retail agency, which just means that when a client comes to us, there's no additional cost to working with us, but we're going to go out to market and we're going to search all the different big name insurance companies to see who offers them the best terms, the best coverage, the best price, and do kind of some of the due diligence for them. And then we make recommendations, pick a plan, and put that into place. We have a proven process to do that. We call it the PAC Premier 360 review, and it's just a 5-step process to actually make sure that we are results driven. I think far too often insurance tends to just be, set it and forget it kind of thing, and it's not. And in those instances, a lot of times it doesn't keep up with the person's life or the business that we're insuring. We want to make sure that we're results driven. We're providing good value to the clients every year.
All right. Excellent. So you kind of would you reevaluate a client's situation what's like the time frame where you would reevaluate the client's situation?
It really depends on each client. Each client's as individual as a fingerprint. Some don't want to hear from me for a couple years at a time, just happy birthday and that sort of thing.
Leave me alone.
But some are are in the midst of they're dealing with claims, they're dealing with ongoing situations that they really need to get their arms around. And so for those clients, it might be we're working with them on an ongoing basis. It might be every 3 months we're checking in, kind of reviewing and analyzing how we're doing and the progress we're making. More frequently, it's on an annual basis because that's when the renewals are, and we want to make sure that has anything changed over the course of the term, and do we need to make any updates?
Make sure they have adequate coverage if things in their life have changed or added certain things.
Yep.
Got it. Can you share with our viewers what your company's mission statement is?
Yeah, so the mission statement is really we want to be there for them before, during, and after a claim, and if no claim happens at all. I think all too often we're focused on this could happen situation, which is important. That's what insurance is for. But we also want to be results driven if nothing happens, right? I mean, if you're a great client and you're being safe every year over year, there should be something in it for you too. We want to give back and make sure that we're pushing the carriers to be reducing the premium and giving some of that back. That's hard in different markets. Sometimes it's easier. We've got soft markets and hard markets in insurance. Soft just means we have more negotiating leverage for the client. Hard means that there's less options out there. A lot of things are hard right now just because of the state of California and different things we're dealing with. But we're up to the task, and that's our mission.
Great. I'm sure your clients appreciate that, and plenty of testimonials to support that.
Thank you. Yeah.
So actually, Erik provides insurance for us here at Same Day Restoration, but we won't get into all that right now. But we are a client. So, are there any trends or any new laws or rules, or what's new on the agenda for 2021? You think that our viewers should know about?
It depends on what we're talking about, really. I mean, I could get into
stay in one hole.
Yeah, we could talk about there's different employment laws. Obviously, there's a lot changing around COVID. Macro trends in the industry. We've got it's a much harder insurance market, like we were just talking about, and that's everything from auto claims increasing, right? So we've got these cell phones in our hands all the time. People are driving distracted a lot more often, so the speed with which an accident can occur, or usually it tends to occur, is a lot faster than it was 10 and 20 years ago. On top of that, you've got little computers in every piece of the car now, right? So you can't just go to AutoZone and get a new rear view mirror. It's got to be wired in there and tells you when someone's in your lane and everything. So cost of repairs are exploding because of that, and that just overall drives up the cost of insurance and makes it less profitable, and that kind of restricts and hardens the market. On the home side, just keeping this within kind of auto and home, you have fires in California. Obviously, that's a big deal, and just in California in general, as water losses tend to be particularly expensive for some reason. I think the average cost of a water claim in the United States is like $11,000, and I think in California it's around 45. This last statistic I heard. So it's that's a challenge that we're all trying to grapple with. It's definitely hardening the market, but you know, we have plenty of options and carriers that are willing to work with us on those situations.
Good, yeah. Technology for sure on the auto side. Who would have thought technology would come back to bite us and create even more expense? So I get it. Everything has a cost.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, in some ways, it's really pushing and innovating and helping us reduce costs, and on the other hand, there's some additional cost to it too. So
it's a driver for that. So you touched on a subject here regarding with the home and regarding fire. So I know we have personal experience with a couple projects we did in the summer where homeowners seemed like they were grossly underinsured for their contents. So what type or what kind of what recommendations could you make to somebody who's either shopping for a new policy or maybe it's examining their current coverage to maybe help them navigate some of the shortfalls of not having enough coverage for their contents?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Frank, because I mean, contents is one of the toughest things to get your arms around from an agent's perspective and from a client's perspective. Like when I'm having the conversation with a new client or reviewing an existing client's policy, you know, how much contents, which is the stuff, if you flipped over your house, everything that falls to the ceiling should be considered contents, and trying to accurately put a dollar amount on that is really difficult. It's going to be different for everyone, and I can't tell you what's in your house because I'm not there at the moment, right? But you know, I try to put this into terms that people understand. Most of the time, people will give me and they'll throw out a number. You know, they'll say $20,000 or $30,000. You know, the number is often a lot lower than it really ends up being. I think that's the problem that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what you run into or what you see in the field when you have claims is that the number that people are insured for contents is usually not sufficient to replace everything.
What we saw with all these last projects, they were grossly, I believe one had half of what they needed, but the rest were just not even close to what they needed to become whole again. So it's devastating for the family to have a fire in the first place. But then for them to realize in the end when their insurance adjuster comes out and when they actually speak about the nuts and bolts of it and what they're not going to get reimbursed for, that's where I see it really taking a toll on their family. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But this could all be avoided, I think, if they just make a phone call to the provider.
Yeah, you know, when I make the analogy of flipping your house upside down and seeing what falls to the ceiling, the things that come to mind for people generally are the big ticket items, right? The nice couch that you purchased recently or the big TV that you purchased. That's rarely what makes up the bulk of the cost, though, in my experience. If you emptied your sock drawer, right, just all the socks that fall out would probably cost you $100. You know, you'd have some that are you know, the nice stance socks that are, you know,
$20 a pop,
$30 a pop, and then you'd have some that are, you know, Costco and, you know, big pack of 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
But it all adds up, and when you apply that to everything in your house, you know, all new socks, pants, shirts, hats, shoes, you name it, belts, just everything, that accrues pretty quickly. And those are often the things that are damaged, you know, first, especially if there's a fire, the smoke damage. That's all going to be total loss. And when it's water damage, it's usually not much better.
Yeah, electronics get pulled in there also. You know, refrigerators, TVs. You know, depending on how the fire department interacts with the fire, but all that soot and ash, it's an acid and it will eat away at your electronics and other soft goods.
One of the tricks that people can try to implement is we tell people just go through, you know, one of the benefits to technology is everyone does have a video camera in their pocket now. They can go through and kind of take an inventory pretty quickly, a lot easier than it used to be. You can go through and you can video the contents around your house, put that in the cloud, and that way if you have a fire, you always have that to go back and look at and to share with an adjuster, saying, you know, here I can show you and demonstrate what all was here beforehand.
Right, that makes sense. I like that idea.
It's not super specific. It's not as good as having a receipt, but it's a pretty easy way to accommodate getting some rough estimates in there.
Well, it just helps document the
Yeah.
condition of the house prior to the loss, and I think that's probably what the biggest rub's gonna be with the adjuster, is what it looked like before you had the loss. And if the video is consistent with what's there, then I think there shouldn't be a problem. So Eric, you mentioned this being a hard market. Can you expand on that a little bit for our viewers?
Yeah, sure. So a hard market just means that the claims are on the rise and there's less negotiating power for the agency on behalf of the client. And we've seen hard markets across the United States, across the world. It just, it ebbs and flows like everything else. One of the things that we've learned in California, we've actually been able to benefit from. Historically, Florida went through something similar in the early 2000s after a couple consecutive years of really bad hurricane seasons. Yeah, and overnight when that happened, the state-run insurance company became the #1 insurance provider because all the carriers pulled out. They said, "Look, we can't insure for all this wind. There's too much wind." And so they did exactly what California is doing with wildfires right now. It's remarkable how similar the stories are. But they provided, the state-run exchange provided insurance for wind, like we in California they're doing for fires, and then insurance carriers provided wraps, which would pick up all the other pieces of it. So the water damage, the liability piece, all that would come from the insurance company. So people would have two policies and it'd be kind of confusing, but that was just the way that they navigated it. And that's exactly what's happening in California. So how we benefit from that historic reference point is Florida has actually got it somewhat under control at this point. And a lot of it had to do with a mentality shift for clients. They would be a lot less frivolous in terms of filing like small dollar minimal claims. And they'd work with their agency and mitigation specialists when something would go wrong. So if you have a water issue, the first thing that you should do is call your agency, talk it over with them, let them get out a plumber to stop the leak, let them get out a mitigation specialist like same day to identify what the issue really is, and then you can have a conversation about what happens next. We never discourage someone from filing a claim, but there are some instances where it's really pretty clear that this doesn't fall within the scope of the insurance policy, and you can kind of weigh that whether or not you want to go down that path.
So you mentioned calling out a restoration company. So do people have a choice with regards to who they can have come out? We appreciate you recommending same day, and we're thankful for that, but do people have to go with their recommendation from their insurance company?
No, they have the absolute freedom to choose who they want to choose. So yeah, it's up to them, and we encourage them, whoever they're comfortable with. And again, if they don't have a resource in that regard, we certainly do.
Okay.
So that's who we advocate, because we just know you guys do good work. But yeah, there's a lot of options out there that they can use.
All right, good. If I could ask you in closing here, what message would you want to give to somebody out there today who is possibly looking at changing their coverage or looking for new insurance? What would you recommend?
Sure. So I always tell people, interview the agency that you may want to work with. So if you have a handful that you've been referred, have a 15-minute conversation like you would if you were deciding on a realtor to sell your home. We all have different specialties, we all have different expertise, and we all have different styles for how we do this. And choose one that makes the most sense and that you're the most confident. I think a lot of times people make the decision on just the bottom line price and deductible, and it's great for one term, but there's the devil is in the details with this stuff. And so if you can find a group that stylistically meets the way you think about things and adds value to you, then I think that's a better path for the long term. We have at Pacific Premier, we have a guarantee to our clients that if you ever are not receiving enough value from us, we will help facilitate the transfer of your policies to the agency of your choosing. And that's just,
wow.
I like to tell people, this is not a hostage situation. You can come and go as you please. We just want to be there for you if you enjoy working with us.
That's great. So I just want to say thank you for joining us today, Eric. We really appreciate your time. We'd love to have you back for this segment, the difference between a house fire and wildfire. What do you think?
Sound good?
All right,
Thanks for having me.
Right on. Look forward to having you again.
Yep.
Cheers.
The team here at Same Day Restoration would like to thank Eric and the team over at Pacific Premier Insurance for spending some time with us today. Their business information is going to be in the video description. Also, don't forget to click like and subscribe to keep up with our weekly video content. Hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Thanks.